Hey everyone, welcome to Becoming Awesome, the AWS podcast with Amazon insiders, introducing you to the humans of AWS. I'm your co-host, Ray Thomas. Jenna Lass and I, your trusted partners in crimes, are thrilled to announce the launch of season 3 of our show with a new theme. It's called Behind the AWS Streams. This season, we're taking a new approach and exploring the backgrounds and streams of our fellow AWS Twitch show owners. Our aim is to delve deep into their ideation and the premise of their show, while also uncovering their target audience and the unique value they offer. Through this process, we'll peel back the layers to reveal the insights and perspectives to make each show truly unique. So, with that, we also have our incredible partner and chat moderator, Kevin Bourne, who I'll turn it over for a quick introduction.
Thanks, Ray. Yeah, my name's Kevin Bower, and I'm a sourcing recruiter for AWS in the worldwide public sector, actually on Jenna and Ray's team. I'll be in the chat, just keeping an eye out for any questions that may pop up, and I'll relay them to the panel. So if you do have any questions in real time, we'll address them. And also keep your eyes out for a survey that we'd love to hear back from you on. Here you go, Jenna.
Yeah. Hello. I'm so happy to be back. And I just want to dig right into our guest, Dr. Tristan Wadi. You have a super impressive background that includes a PhD specialization in cybersecurity. You have tons of followers that you deliver really unique and informational material to every week. And we want to let you just kind of let that go for a bit and learn about you, who you are as a human being. So talk to us, tell us where this passion for security comes from, both academically and professionally.
Yeah. So thank you first for having me, Ray, Jenna, Kevin. So I always like to start, good morning, good evening, good day, greetings and salutations to start off and bring off the energy and have some fun with this. When it comes to kind of my background or origin story, as I like to say, my passion for security really stemmed from, I would say, the tinker in me, that I'm the type to browse around the different tech stores, on a Friday night and say, hey, this is cool stuff. How does this work? How do we piece these things together, right? And then that kind of stemmed into my interest for technology as a whole. And one of the corner pieces, or the main pieces, when it comes to just technology, I find is security, right? Security is always the top priority, as we say, right? But I really saw that happening just getting into the different ones and zeros, the bits and bytes of how everything connects. And security just became that passion, right? And that's kind of where I also started going down the route of having a PhD in security, because I really wanted to delve into the understanding and the theory a little bit more. So kind of getting to write a full dissertation on something. My dissertation was originally combining the different elements of my personality as well as stuff that I was interested in. So it was based on security and gaming and technology. So that's kind of the summation of how I kind of got a little bit interested in the overall aspect of security.
Yeah, and the name Security SideQuest. How did you ideate that?
Yeah, so when I was originally brainstorming titles for the show, I was like, okay, I want security in there just to have that first piece. And then the second piece, I wanted it to be something that related to a lot of people, that they could understand right off the bat. And SideQuest is something that when you think of, it means something to different people. If you are a gamer, SideQuests pop out of, oh, these are different tasks that I do as part of not the main quest, but something I could do to enhance, let's say, my stats or my efforts towards my overall main path or journey. So I felt like that fit kind of the theme of what I was going for, because SideQuest can be anything. It can be, in the context of my show, as I say, is documentation, readings, deep dives, threat modeling, coding, or it can just be a conversation being had. If you go back to that gaming analogy, SideQuest is like, hey, can you get my cat from the tree? So it can range in those different items of cat from the tree or protect this town. So if you contribute that to security, you get that feeling all around, I would say.
I think you're a really deep thinker, so that's cool to discover. I was thinking
one on TV, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking SideQuest, like sidecar, like I'm traveling along your journey of security, but it is way much deeper than that. So for those that maybe don't know your show, can you give a quick summary of what you deliver on your weekly shows?
Yes. So the backing for Security SideQuest really stemmed from me coming from the AWS industries sector, specifically within financial services, of dealing with the different areas of security. And what I mean by that is you deal with security, risk, and compliance. So when you break that down and understand the different components that go into it, when you're speaking about AWS, you're thinking of the services. You're thinking of, we have to meet these compliance standards and everything along those lines. So after speaking with a number of different customers, practitioners, individuals just generally interested in security, kind of my show was centered around, hey, sometimes I don't have time to view a whole, let's say, hour-long item on a particular topic, or I have a nuanced security question that comes from me watching that hour-long topic. So I wanted to create a show that helped to fill in the gaps and transition people from understanding, the cloud can be daunting, but if we take one step at a time or one side quest at a time, we can help build up towards our overall main security posture journey, or however you want to look at it. And what I like to do is add a little bit of pop culture, gaming, and other type of relevant items to make it understandable to everybody. So I often start off the title of my show with something interesting, right, that helps you to put in a frame of a context. So the two things that come with my show is usually a question and then a pop culture reference. So if that puts into play, a lot of them are kind of interesting and fun to play with because it gets you thinking in a different way. So to go back to your original question, is really the weekly shows are based on a question or just a thought that pops into my mind, or someone asked or posed this question to me and I'm like, hey, let's delve into this little nuance or this little side quest and let's have a conversation about it and let us go on this journey together to build up that one piece of experience point, right?
Yeah,
So
that sounds really valuable and maybe even spontaneous. So I'm wondering, how far in advance do you plan your show topics?
So there's two mechanisms that I use. So I have an overall list of different topics I would like to cover, but I was always interested, if you're familiar with kind of the South Park methodology of weekly episodes, on how they would start brainstorming for the next weekly episode at the end of the last episode. So it can stay relevant to what is happening, one, within the world, but two, just with their audience and kind of the direction. So with side quests, since they can be anything, I can pivot depending on what the interest was, or if we delved into a particular topic, we can, stretch it out over a couple of weeks and break down the different nuances of each. So, for instance, we had a show on World Backup Day. So that was, hey, let's pivot to understanding backing up on March 31st and why it's kind of important and how AWS services could tie to that. So that's kind of the fun nature of being able to have these different side quests. And the other way to think about side quests too is you don't always have to do side quests in logical order. You can accept a bunch of them. And then when you have the time to delve into a particular item because it aligns with what you're looking for, you can just go with it.
So what are like some of the frequently asked questions that you see come up all the time, even though you say each week is something different, right? But I'm sure it's probably audience members that come in, they hear about it, through word of mouth and whatnot. What's some of the questions that you see come in often? Because Jenna and I have repeat questions like from the recruiting industry, right? So from security in the cloud, what's it for you?
Yeah. So some of the, I would say, questions that come up the most is from individuals who are looking for documentation or for a specific area. So it will be something along the lines of, hey, where can I find this? Or can you post the information for this? Because a lot of those different pieces tend to be scattered throughout the place. So if you are new to the AWS cloud, sometimes you just need somewhat of a roadmap for somebody to point to. It's like, hey, go here. And a lot of questions stem from that, I find, is just, where do I find this? And this is where I tend to have something I call a section in my show of articles of the day. And essentially, articles of the day is the concept comes from, hey, after you finish your 5 a.m. run, right? We all go on 5 a.m. runs, yeah, right? And grab your favorite beverage of choice, coffee, tea, water, or whatever the case may be. And you sit down at your computer. What is the interesting security blog information or just general links that you would want to read through? And I found that helped to answer a lot of those questions of where do I go for this? Because it helps you to have concrete documentation on a particular topic. And then we can also talk about different workshops or other places to go.
Yeah, because you look at that. Because you look at some of the support tiers. There's different tiers of support that different customers have, right? Mm-hmm. And who would find the most benefit from your show? Like which support tier do you think this would be a great addition, for their support journey?
Yeah. So the unique thing about this is I like to think of it that it can span a wide variety of tiers. But the one place where I tend to focus on is, let's say, the level 100 of getting to know AWS Cloud to the level 200 of I'm familiar with the cloud, but this concept escapes me. Right. So that's kind of where we tend to go with a lot of the different topics of the getting everyone comfortable, because when you think of in that support tier structure that you were speaking about, you find that everyone is not deep in every area. So having a show that's able to get you enough knowledge in order to have conversations on a topic is often a good approach, because we have a variety of different awesome shows, and no pun intended, right? On the Twitch channel that go really deep into different items, and having the ability to catapult and have those different conversations from, let's say, 1 to 2, that, hey, let's go deeper into this item, is kind of the unique nature of this overall Twitch channel, I would say. But to answer your question more succinctly, I would say the beginning to intermediate level individuals, but sometimes we play in the deeper side of the pool as well, I would say.
Mm. So your superpower is the ability to bring this down into small chunks and make it quicker and easier for people to learn what they need with regards to security. So how do you learn it? Where are you getting your information from? How did you become an expert? What does it take to be an expert? How can people be you?
That's the thing is, the word expert is funny, when you think about it, because you never really think about yourself as an expert. You know, that's where you get into that kind of imposter syndrome and all those kind of topics. But where I really stem from is just diving in and having curiosity into different areas. So going down the different security blogs, that's why I put it in my show as a highlight and focus of, hey, what were other problems individuals were trying to solve and how did they solve them? And then kind of spinning off from there, because you often see stuff that's referenced that you're like, hey, what was that? And then you start to go down kind of the rabbit hole, I would say, is, hey, what is this? That goes to this, that goes to this. So there's that on top of just, it's funny, I follow a bunch of different Twitter accounts when it comes to just, hey, this is what's happening in the industry, and then diving into that. Or just the general curiosity of when you see a new service announced, of what does this service exactly do? And how does this relate to somebody's security posture as a whole? I think all of those different places, to kind of answer your question a little bit, is where I go to learn and dive deep. And then that's from the practitioner side. And if I put on the scholarly side and kind of go by the doctor name, I also go to a lot of scientific journals and follow a lot of scientific communities when it comes to figuring out, why is this a standard? When we get to like Wi-Fi 6 or something along those lines, what is the difference between, you know, having this layer of encryption versus this? And there's a lot of different articles, or I should say journals, that you can read and dive into. So usually my perspective is a mix between those two communities and kind of bringing them together and adding a layer of fun pop culture chocolate, I would say, on top of it.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got one foot on the street and one foot on the university, and maybe your head is in some entertainment shows or video games.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe your hands, right? You're just like all over, which I think is a really, really nice balance. So when you're not engaging with the communities that watch your shows and external communities for learning, do you also engage with AWS communities, people that work here to share best practices? And what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's interesting, because when it comes to internal to AWS, there's a couple of internal conferences that we have that I presented on, just general security best practices and kind of things to look out, that like, hey, we're always accelerating, we're moving, we're adopting these different items. But some of the general tips, going in that SideQuest methodology of, hey, we're working remote, what are some of the best practices that we can delve into when it comes to office space and security, you know, coming from the physical layer to, hey, how do you use a VPN when you connect to the internet regularly? Is that one of the things that you do when you're not at work, right? So those are the kind of areas that I dive into with the internal communities. And also we have our technical field communities, which I'm a part of, and then also the various Slack channels, as we know, in AWS. So contributing those different areas and just having conversations like this is often kind of how I like to contribute.
Excellent.
I may have to reach out to you the next time I get locked out of my computer. Just kidding. Go for it, Ray.
So we talk about, you know, customer obsession all the time, right? I think this itself is a form of customer obsession where you take time to talk to a live audience and try to help them get over that hump, or, you know, whatever myth that may be in their head that's blocking them, you know, from going forward with their security journey or their cloud journey. What have you learned about your customers, you know, from you know, however long you've had the show, what they started out with asking to type of questions you're hearing now? What have you learned about the audience itself?
What I learned, if I had to put a major focus on it, is a lot of customers are trying to migrate to the cloud. So they're usually trying to go down the route of rapid development. And sometimes that rapid development and consumption leads security to not be the top priority. So some of the questions and some of the nuances of delving into that, I found that it started to help frame different conversations around security in interesting ways. So some of those ways may just stem from, hey, this service, can we integrate that into our current security posture? Because when we speak about all the great, services there are out there, sometimes, the customers may not know about, some of the 100+ services that we have available. Right. So just having that focus on, hey, why don't you try and look in about this service or looking into this service? I found that kind of started to shape a lot of the conversations and kind of the side quests and the paths about it. Because once you start to break things down to ones and zeros of what is this question really about, it really comes from, hey, I'm interested in this platform. I want to adopt it. It's a cool thing. Hey, let's develop. Now let's try to integrate security into it. So I'm trying to have those conversations up front of, hey, let's think about security along the path from beginning conception all the way towards ongoing maintenance, that continuous cycle. So that's kind of the path that I went down.
So one quick follow-up question, so as you're learning that, did you ever receive feedback from your customers, your audience? Did they ever come back, reach out to you one way or another, say, hey, really enjoyed that actually helped me do X? Is there like a use case around that?
Yeah, it's interesting. One interesting use case that I can share is I got feedback from another AWS consultant saying that one of their customers saw my stream and it actually helped them. It was, I think, a school district in the UK or something way across seas that it actually helped them understand and roll out some security features. So that was a great thing to hear because, this is a different vertical from what I'm usually a part of. And you just see kind of the reach and kind of the feedback. So that was like an interesting thing, I would say.
What about crazy comments? Do you ever get any crazy comments that have lingered in your mind?
Yeah. So there's a lot of, I would say, joke setups when it comes to the comments. And I kind of see the double-edged sword of having a lot of pop culture references in my show is how it kind of starts to play out. So when I said, there's been a couple of comments. I also say a lot of not safe for work, moderator, please help comments as well. But I would say a lot of the comments are usually positive on the stream of individuals learning. But I can't think of one particular one that I can share at this moment, but there are a lot that come to mind when it comes to the full range of when I'm having conversations.
Yeah. People are engaged with you, Tristan, for sure. And I think a lot of it has to do with your room. I'm not going to lie. I think people really want to know what's going on. Now, this is behind the scenes. So
exactly.
Are you willing to give a tour?
Yeah, I'll give a tour. That would be fun. And it's funny because that was one of the comments that I was thinking of. A lot of the crazy comments like, what are you doing with all this stuff in your room, right? So if I were to get out of the way for a second and kind of point towards the room. So right now, I am also a statue collector. So I collect a lot of video game and anime and all of those types of comic book statues. So in the back directly, I have, let's say, a Naruto statue, right? This is where my nerddom comes out, right? Nine Tails Naruto. I have a Bleach 1-to-1 scale. I have a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cabinet back there. And if we come over to the other side, a few other statues. I have Full Metal Alchemist. I'm a big Mega Man fan. One thing the audience can't see is I have about 6 Mega Man helmets that are lined up across the other side of the room. Rogue from X-Men on top there. Big Spider-Man, if you can kind of see him there, next to all of the game consoles, Cowboy Bebop. So really what my room entails is a mix of what is going on in my head on a daily basis. So it's a mix of tech, a mix of anime, gaming, and all of the above, right? So yeah, when I go down and kind of break things down, the other piece I like to call out is my backlog of gaming up there. That's the one day I'll get to you pile of PS4, PS5, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and all of those games, right? So
favorite platform. What's your favorite gaming platform?
The favorite gaming platform. So if I were to pick one retro platform to show love to, would be Dreamcast, right? That's a platform or a gaming console I wish got a little bit more light of day. When it comes to Sony versus Microsoft, I tend to lean towards Sony for certain games and Microsoft for other games when it comes to Xbox. Also, I would give a shout out to the Steam Deck as well. That's been a right hand.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who are playing Resident Evil, there's a little red, blue, green herbs down there. If you could see it, I have potted. That's kind of like the little behind the scenes with that. So it's like a lot of mix of different things. So one day I shall shoot a video room tour and going and buying explaining these different pieces. But just to give another piece to this, I have about 20 other statues on pre-order, and I have no clue where they're going to go in this room. So find out on another episode of this.
Do you let other human beings enjoy this room with you, or is this this for you?
Yeah, so it's funny when my friends come over, it's almost like they're touring a museum. Like they come in like with their cameras, like, oh, and take pictures like this.
You can charge admission.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm just like, one day I got to come up with the video presentation and just play it before you get in the room and just have the little donation box outside. Like fund the statue hobby, right?
It's funny when we were all preparing for the show and in the Slack, I thought about, like the tech geek in me saying, hey, if you do turn it into a museum, you should have like motion sensors, and it will realize when someone is in front of a particular item, like say Spider-Man, it starts to automatically narrate the story behind it and where they could get one themselves or whatever,
Yeah. It's funny. There was one thing, if this is going to be a deep comic book show cut, I would say, is within the Young Justice anime or cartoon, depending on how you look at it, whenever somebody enters the cave, it would say now entering 001 Batman or something like that. I wanted to create a system so anytime somebody entered the room, I would be able to pre-program their name being said as they enter in. So that's kind of my lifetime goal.
That's so welcoming.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we have
I believe in you. You can do it.
Yeah. So we have about 90 seconds left. Tristan, floor is yours. Give your final thoughts and a quick shout out to like your show and the time when people can stream it. So floor is yours.
Yeah. So thank you. So when it comes to my show, Security SideQuest, 9 a.m. Eastern every Friday. It's a weekly show. Come have fun. Let's talk about security. Let's talk about different ways of tying in comic book concepts, gaming concepts, or random TV quotes or trivia into AWS services and seeing where we go from that, because the whole premise behind Security SideQuest is delving into the nuances of security with a fun, interesting lens of curiosity. Also, I would like to say thank you for having me on Becoming Awesome, because I really think this is an interesting concept and show that we really get to engage and have a little bit of fun, right? Learning about the different individuals. So thank you again, Jenna, Ray, Kevin behind the scenes. And overall, watch the different shows on AWS Twitch. There's so many out there. Find somebody that you like to follow, that you like to have questions for, and go from there, because there's a lot of good information out there. And I encourage, or one of my side quests I post to everybody is go out, find a show, have a little bit of interest in it, and report back the results on any of the shows, right?
Thank you so much, Tristan. Dr. Tristan Waddy and Jenna, have a great one, everyone. Great having you this time.
Thank you. Have a good one.
I look forward to watching your show more and learning about security too.
Yes.